Taylor Lawrence, welcome to our first online Forces Sport podcast, but it couldn't be helped because you're a man now who's hardly ever in this country due to your winter sports commitment. And congratulations on an amazing World Cup season so far. And it does seem, I'm going to go in there heavy straight off, it does seem that the GB team seem to be peaking at the right time. Would you agree?
It's Beijing, not peaking.
No, absolutely. Obviously, it's been a long time coming for this team. There's been loads of injuries and loads of setbacks throughout the seasons. But yeah, it just seems this season that everything's sort of coming together at the perfect time. Everyone's fit, everyone's enjoying themselves. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting time in Beijing.
And currently, why don't you tell us sort of where you are? Because we know you were in St Moritz for the final race of the World Cup season. And you are now sort of in a holding camp. And just tell us what the sort of travel plans are now for the next... I don't think we're breaking any security barriers by getting you to reveal where you are and where you're headed.
No, not at all. No, so we're in Koenigsee at the moment, which is in Germany, and we're here just because it's a lovely place to be. It's sort of like our second home. And we've got all the training facilities that we need. We've got a push track here, running track. And it's just the perfect place to take our holding camp. So we're going to be here for sort of the next 10 days. It's a bit of downtime, rest, recuperation, good bit of training. And then, yeah, from here, we'll then fly into London and then we'll catch the chartered GB flight from Heathrow over to China.
And how we sort of had a discussion before we came on air, really. How keen are you, especially in the environment we're living in these days with COVID, how keen are you to sort of get on the ground in China and kind of tick all those COVID boxes and check everything's all right? Because you're still having COVID related issues in camp at the moment as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, our coach tested positive for COVID as well. So it's just one of those ones that you can't really ever escape it. You can be as careful as you can. So yeah, this holding camp especially, we're just trying to sort of keep ourselves to ourselves, train the best we can. And I think, yeah, you can't really fully relax until you're in China, you've had those negative lateral flows, PCR tests, and then you can sort of start to enjoy it because, I mean, COVID can just derail anything at any moment. So yeah, fingers crossed that we can just get there and then do the business.
Taylor, you're one of those guys that us mere mortals are very jealous of because you're a natural at football. You're a Navy Cup winner. You're brilliant at rugby. So what drew you away from those traditional sports of football and rugby union to bobsleigh?
Do you know what? It's one of those ones that bobsleigh is a sport I think a lot of people don't intend to go into. They just end up falling into it. But it's one of those sports that is just so unlike any other sport. There's just so many different aspects to it. It combines your sort of speed, your power, agility, and you can't really explain the experience of going down a track or even what it's like to crash or anything to do with the sport until you've actually competed in it. So it's just one of those ones that it's so different. I thought I'd absolutely want to give it a go. And I think it's one of those sports that once you get into it, you just get the bug for it. And I think a lot of people would agree that it's quite a special sport to be a part of.
We had an interview recently with Steve Davis from the UK Armed Forces Winter Sports Association, and he said he was at a sports awards a few years back, and I think he was sat next to a rugby player on one side and a bobsleigh athlete on the other side, and he said the size of the thighs, he actually used the word, the size of their thighs was very impressive. And having seen you guys, not just you, but Nick and Brad and Greg and all the GB boys in the gym, do you love that part of it? Because the gym work is intense and it's very centred around that strength because the power obviously comes from you guys as brakemen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, when you're training with big, strong guys as well, it motivates you to be the best you can. And I think a lot of people underestimate the size of some of the bobsleigh athletes that are there because they see the size of the sled and they wonder how these sort of 6 foot plus, 100 kilo plus guys all manage to cram in. And it's never comfortable in there. But yeah, once you're in, you're not getting out. So it's pretty snug, especially with myself and Nick is 2 and 3. Once we're in, we're not going anywhere until the end.
You are yourself 6'4", but what I'm keen to know is that people might dismiss your role as just being pure ballast at the back of the bobsleigh. You're not driving, but what is your role? Because you do have a crucial role in the speed of that sled getting it to the bottom. What do you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously the three guys as brakemen, our main job there is to get the sled accelerated and get it off the block. And it's all about, once you get it off the block, then you've got to then use your velocity in loading as well, because there's no point in getting it up to speed and then as you get it on, you're pulling the sled back or you're braking it. So it's really important for every single person, even including the pilot, that when you load, you really need to load with some velocity and some power, and they carry that momentum all the way down the track. Obviously, it's a gravity-based sport. So yeah, power off the block, get in, and then once you're in there, it's not about, a lot of people think that as brakemen, you need to know the track to like lean and things like that, but it's not. It's a case of getting in and then just keeping still, especially as for myself at number two, because when I'm behind, Brad, he almost uses my legs as a rest. So if I start wriggling around and I'm moving, obviously it's going to affect his driving. So especially for me, it's get in, hold on, and then just keep completely still, just to allow him to focus completely on what he's doing.
Armrest Taylor.
Pretty much. I mean, if I wasn't to get in, I don't think you'd see Brad's head. He'd be sort of like right back, not knowing what's going on.
And it's interesting because this season, when you have done so well in 4-man and 2-man as well, one of the things I've noticed about you on your social media posts is that, you know, first of all, it's like, oh, we got a medal. But secondly, what you're really, really proud of is getting the fastest or the second fastest start. And that's clearly something that, from what you're explaining, you've really worked on, because that's where the, you know, let's not be silly. As long as they drive well, which we know Brad can do, you know, if you can get that fast start, you've already given yourself a massive advantage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as brakeman, obviously the pilot's job is to get you down. But although there's 4 of you pushing, whenever you see that start time, brakemen sort of take it on their shoulders that it's the 3 guys that are pushing. And to have that sort of pride to know that potentially as a crew, you are the best pushing crew in the world is pretty special. And bobsleigh is a sport that goes down to hundreds, thousands of seconds. So if you can give your everything on that start, that extra 100 from the start can mean a lot at the bottom.
What do you know about the track in Beijing? It's a track that you won't have visited before. And how long does it take a crew, a team, to get used to that track?
Well, so we went out to the Beijing test event. So we have all been to the track before, but we only had a 2-man sled out there. So Brad hasn't actually got to driven 4-man out there, and we haven't actually got to load as a crew sort of in there. But the track is pretty special. I mean, when you see it, it's something like no other track you've ever seen. But the corners and things, they're quite big, long, sweeping corners. So if you were to you can't really compare it to say a track like Altenburg, which is mega fast. There's some big pressures there. This is quite a long, not slow track, but it's quite gentle, especially as brakeman in the back. You don't really get thrown around a lot. So I mean, yeah, Altenburg, Winterberg, stuff like that. Once you've sort of done 3 or 4 runs, you start feeling it. But in this one, you could do 4, 5, 6 and still quite enjoy the ride.
And it's interesting because Jules and I were talking about it yesterday. Beijing at the moment doesn't have a lot of snow, but I guess for an ice sport, that's not really something you need to consider. You guys are all happy with where you're going, and the competition will be as it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the track in Beijing, most of it is sort of built. If you've seen like the Segulda track, there's like a sort of cover, and the whole sort of track is built inside. So in terms of that, I mean, the track should be like perfect for all of us. And a special thing about here is they've actually got a big indoor warm-up facility. So normally in every other track, you're warming up in a frozen car park or a bit of concrete somewhere. But here they've got a purpose-built indoor warm-up area, which is obviously amazing. And it's going to make all the difference, especially if it's going to be sort of like your good sort of -5 to 10 temperatures out there. Keep yourself nice and warm. So it's going to be strange warming up in sort of a vest and t-shirt to then come out, and it's obviously going to be super cold. But we're all we can't wait.
For you yourself, you're joining a sport, or you're part of a sport that has fantastic traditions with the military. You know, Sean Olsen from the Army was a winner of an Olympic medal a few years ago. Then, of course, it was John Jackson and Stu Benson. What's it like being part of this military setup, a sport from the military that seems to have invested itself in bobsleigh?
Do you know what? It's awesome to see all these people that have come before us, and it just, especially as a military athlete, it just gives you that sort of drive and that kick. And obviously, I speak to John Jackson quite a bit and Sean Olsen, and they sort of give me their insights into what it was like and what to expect. But having that military background definitely brings that bit of pride. And especially this year, going to have a Royal Marine and a parachute regiment soldier. That's going to be pretty special in that sled.
Does it give you an edge? Does it give you as an athlete a little bit extra being from the military?
Do you know what? I think it definitely does, just because you've got that little bit more, or I like to think anyway, you've just got that little bit more pride and the way you carry yourself, and you're representing yourself and your country and your military as well. It's special.
Now, you mentioned, of course, yourself as a Royal Marine and Nick as the Parachute Regiment. So you've got two of the services represented there. But interestingly, we've just heard in the last day or so that Jamaica will qualify for the 4-man event, which means Shan Stevens from the RAF. So we'll have a triple whammy out there in Beijing.
How pleased are you that that someone like Shan is going to be competing, because he's quite a character, but also from a bobsleigh point of view as well, the whole Cool Runnings thing. Everyone knows the history in the film
so well, and they associate it. It's often people's first run-in with bobsleigh is the film Cool Runnings. So Shan living up to that kind of Jamaican dream. It'll be so good to see him out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be good to see, obviously, the trifecta of the services being showcased at such a global level. And yeah, obviously, Shan's going to be going there with a sort of Cool Runnings theme behind him, which is everyone knows about Cool Runnings and loves to get behind bobsleigh. Obviously, it's nice to sort of hopefully he can sort of start to create a new narrative and just bring a lot more publicity and a lot more people to the sport, because that's the main thing. You want to inspire people to get involved in bobsleigh, every single nation, every single military service and non-military service. So it's just going to be good to have everyone represented there.
I know that Shan, as part of his training, was pushing a mini around. As part of your training, have you ever found yourself doing something that you've perhaps questioned?
Do you know what? I don't think so. I think we haven't quite got to we've never quite got to pushing the cars around. But yeah, wherever we've been, we've managed to try and get some sort of rudimental training together. Like I said, whether that's pulling sleds on an actual track or in a car park or on concrete or anywhere. Yeah.
You were pulling a red arrow, weren't you, a couple of summers ago?
You know what? I completely forgot about that. Yeah, pulling red arrows.
That's quite normal. That's quite normal to yank a red arrow around.
Yeah, no, I think that's the most unique type of training that we've ever done. But I can't say we'll be going back to do that anytime soon, because it was actually a lot harder than it looked.
What are you like on race day? Are you somebody that can cope with the nerves? How are you feeling on race day?
Do you know, race day is one of those ones that if you're carrying niggles up to it or you're not feeling the best, as soon as race day comes along, all of that sort of worry and those stresses and those niggles just sort of disappear, because it's one of those ones that it's not just you competing there. You've got 3 other guys around you that are expecting you to give your all and give your best as well. So yeah, race day is a different kettle of fish. Everything else just gets put on the back burners, and then you just focus on your job at hand.
You mentioned that currently you're in a rival's apartment in Koenigsee. What is the relationship? And you talked about being pleased for Shan. What is the relationship on the bobsleigh circuit? Because it is every weekend, the entire winter, traipsing around the same places as 16 other teams. So, what's that relationship like, and how difficult is that when it comes to competition time?
Do you know, the relationship between everyone is really healthy. Bobsleigh is a sport that everyone enjoys, and everyone just wants everyone else to do well as well. No matter where you come, you'll be congratulated from the people that are beating you every week, and you'll be congratulating them. It's just an environment that I think breeds success. Everyone cheers for everyone, and it just gives everyone that sort of that motivation to do well. And yeah, no matter what country you're from or where you're coming every week, everyone wants everyone to do the best they can, because it just breeds good competition.
Well, the whole country's going to be getting behind you. for what is going to be an exciting Olympic Games. But what does it mean to you knowing that you've got your mates back at your unit cheering for you?
Do you know what? Whenever I post stuff on social media and things like that, I always get messages from guys across the corps, people that I haven't spoken to for a long time, people that I speak to on a regular basis. It's just so nice to have the support from friends, family, your different militaries. It fuels you on, and being able to showcase and represent Royal Marines at the Games, I think, is going to be up there with some of the best sort of pride and honours that you can have as a military athlete.
Better than winning the Royal Navy Football Cup.
Do you know what? Winning the Royal Navy Football Cup comes close, but I think this might just edge it.
And going back to sort of the right, would you say that the Germans are your main rivals in the sense that you've kind of finished between them, really, haven't you, during the World Cup season? Do you think about that a lot, or is it sort of that normal narrative of kind of focusing on yourself and doing what you do well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, the Germans are sort of powerhouse in sport, and they're the people that we're going to be we're competing against every single week. But at the end of the day, yeah, we're looking at those guys as well, but we're only focused on ourselves. They're the people that we want to beat. But as long as we're given, they need to be as careful of us as we are of them. They know the skill that we have, and we know the skill that they have. So I think it's a sort of mutual respect from not just the Germans, but you've got the Latvians, the Canadians, all of the sort of bobsleigh powerhouses that are out there. So it's respect more than anything.
Unfortunately, there was a huge cloud over Sochi from a few years ago, which impacted on John Jackson with his medal, the colour of the medal that he got. Where do you see the sport is at the moment? Do you think it's a clean sport?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the sport is in a really, 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 really good place at the moment, and I just hope that leading into this Games, none of those sort of demons are around, and I don't believe they are at all. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a really good, competitive, and enjoyable Olympics for everyone all round.
Do you still pinch yourself, Taylor? Because when we came to visit you in the summer of 2020, after lockdown had been lifted and we were able to get out of the house, we came to see you at the push track in Bath on a lovely summer's day. First of all, you were living, I think, with Luke Dawes and Nick Gleeson and Bob. I always call him Bob. I mean Brad.
Brad, yeah.
You'd all decided to bubble together.
But also, speaking to you then, you were so new into the sport. You'd really only sort of joined up with the GB lot at the beginning of 2020, and here you are on the eve of an Olympic Games, which as a rugby player and as a football player you may not have even made. I mean, do you still pinch yourself?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Obviously, coming into the sport, it was a massive baptism by fire for myself, and this was always in the distance. But it's one of those ones that I wouldn't have carried on and given my all if I didn't think this was somewhere that I would have potentially been able to be. Obviously, living with those guys and training with them right at the beginning was the best thing that could have happened, definitely for myself, because I feel like I had no stone unturned. But yeah, it's thinking about it back then, it seemed like this moment was so far away, and now it's here. It's one of those ones that all the sort of sacrifice, all the training, everything has just fallen into place. And yeah, being here is something that I definitely thought that I could have been when I first started this, but yeah, to be here now is awesome.
The military run an ice camp. Is that how you got into bobsleigh, or did you lose a bet? I mean, how is it that you're putting your body through this?
Do you know what? So I sort of did it a little bit backwards. So most people will do your inter-services stuff first, and then that's how they get into bobsleigh and learn. But I actually went on to the GB development first with Ad's Beard, and then after I did a bit of competing with him, I came back, didn't really think anything else of it. And then Brad's team was decimated with injuries, and he'd seen me on the Europa Cup with Ads, and he saw that I was quite big. And he just thought, do you know what, we're going to take, I'm going to give him a call and just see if he fancies giving bobsleigh a go, essentially. And I never think that's the way you should do it. You should have to go through the sort of proper channels. You go through your inter-services and then your grassroots bobsleigh, and then go through the BBSA. But yeah, this is just the way it sort of happened for me. And yeah, here I am, 3 seasons later. So I must have been doing something right. But yeah, I mean, most people, they'll go through your sort of inter-services first and then your GB development and then onto your World Cup circuit.
This is an unfair question, but if there was one team, if it couldn't be you, if there was one team, and I know you're all really close, if there's going to be one nation that wins it apart from you, is there a team that you would say, I don't mind if these guys do well?
Oh,
You can't say that.
Obviously, I want us to be the ones doing well.
Exactly.
But if there was another nation, I think it would have to be the Dutch.
Okay.
Like the Dutch boys, we get on with so well. They're all really, really good lads. So I think if it was to be anyone, it'd be the Dutch.
Yeah.
And going on that as well, like we talked at the beginning about the fact that you think that you're in, the peak of fitness. You've excelled and consistently excelled at the World Cup this season. You must be feeling, obviously there's a danger of being overconfident, but is it just consistency? Because you only have one stab at it in Beijing, but you've just got to remember what you've been doing for the last sort of, 8 weeks or 11 weeks or whatever. How that balance of between now and, the 13th of February or whenever the race is, of kind of keeping your mindset and remembering what you've been doing right all season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when we first started the first race in Eagles, it was the first time that myself, Nick, Greg and Brad had like fully pushed together, like as a crew. So we had no idea what to expect. And then after the first heat, we were on the camion back up, and we were talking to, I think it was one of the Swiss girls. And she was like, "Oh, good pushing." And we were like, we had no idea. And we were like, "Oh, what was it?" She was like, "Oh, it's a 5 flat," which was second ranked push then. And we were like, "Okay, all right, something must be going right." And then as the World Cups kept going on, the pushes were consistent, and it was just giving everyone that sort of the warm and fuzzy that, do you know what, that first race wasn't a fluke. We're actually a very good pushing team here. So yeah, leading on to Beijing, it's just like you said, it's just consistency. We know what we can do. We've proved that as the weeks have gone on. So it's just making sure that we all stay fit, all stay healthy. And it's not about changing too much, because we compete against these same guys every single weekend. It's the same sort of build up for us. So as long as we just keep everything the same, there's no need to drastically change anything, because we know what we're doing works.
What's it like going through this adventure with this group of guys? From your point of view, does it feel like, in a way, a tour of duty, an operational tour?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, so I started with all of these guys, and then as the years and the seasons have gone on, we just got stronger and stronger and better. And it's just nice that everything is just coming together. These guys obviously welcomed me into the beginning, or when I first started with them, dragged me along, and then we've all just grown as a team. And I think that's really special.
And as we sort of come near the end, I just wanted to bring up the fragility. He'll hate me saying this. The fragility of Brad, in the sense that he's such an important member.
Because
Bob or Brad?
It's definitely Brad.
The fact that he's, when you go out to Beijing, you only, if we assume that it's yourself, Nick, Brad and Greg as the 4-man, and then obviously Brad and Nick as the 2-man, you only have one extra member out in China with you. So the fragility, and he doesn't drive, so the fragility of Brad is huge. I know that he drives the team literally and mentally as well, but he's very important. I'm sure you hate saying that to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we tell him every day, but no, obviously he's a mega important person in the team. He's done so much for the team, bringing it from where it was to where it is now. But I mean, as brakeman and everyone in the team, everyone gets behind and supports each other, no matter what it is or whatever they need. So yeah, it's just a case of obviously keeping him happy, keeping him fit, but then also keeping all the brakemen fit and happy. And as a team, I think, yeah, we can absolutely excel at the games, and we only have our eyes on 2 medals. That's definitely what we're aiming for.
I think when you joined the team in 2019, the sport of bobsleigh in Great Britain was in some sort of turmoil, wasn't it? It's fair to say that things weren't right behind the scenes. Are you proud of the way that you as a team have brought the sport, and of course the women as well, have brought the sport back into the British into the limelight for the British public?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's always things that go on behind the scenes in all sorts of different organisations. But yeah, I mean, our team, the girls' team, the whole of sort of British bobsleigh works so hard now to put it in or get it to a good state and where it is. And obviously, it helps when success is there, medals are there, people are doing well. So yeah, we're just changing that narrative of British bobsleigh, putting the limelight on obviously ourselves and the girls' team, and hopefully. Moving forward, it's going to be in a great place.
Well, listen, Taylor.
Just one
sorry, he always has one final question.
What do you
no
like?
worries.
What do you like as a roommate? Do you bring a sense of military sort of, I don't know, a tidiness? Is your admin spot on? What do you like as a roommate, and who's the worst roommate that you're with?
You know what? So myself and Nick, obviously where we go around the season, it's normally myself and Nick that room together, Brad and Greg that room together, and then whoever's the spare gets their own room. So whenever you're in mine and Nick's room, it's normally always pretty clean, pretty tidy. Everything's packed away. First thing we do there after getting to a place, unpack your bags, get it squared away. But you've got people, and I don't like to name names, but you've got
Go on.
There's only 2 of them anyway.
Yeah. Greg in particular can be pretty bad at just living out his bag and stuff's everywhere. But as long as he keeps it to his room, I don't really mind.
Yeah.
Where we've been doing Airbnbs this year, obviously trying to dodge COVID and all sorts, it can spill out into the kitchen, into the front room at times. But normally we're pretty quick on getting it squared away, and everyone gets on well enough to keep everything tidy and neat.
Any more?
No, that's it. The defence rest.
Yeah, we could talk forever. I know that you have a busy sort of training schedule. Listen, Taylor, I hope that we will at least be able to talk to you maybe once more before you get on the track in China, but I don't want to sort of, pin you down to that. But really good luck. Give the boys our best.
And Nick as well, especially as he's going to be in that 2-man too.
Best wishes to Bob.
Yes, best wishes to Bob and his mate Brad.
Yeah, and Greg as well, of course. And we'll keep in touch, and we're so proud to see you guys out there. And to us, the Winter Olympics comes around, and I have to say,
bobsleigh is my number one watch for me.
Always number one.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have fun in Koenigsee. We didn't even get to talk about Koenigsee and the state that's in, but we'll be behind you 150%, and I look forward to speaking to you with a medal in hand.
Absolutely, no, definitely.
Great, thank you, Taylor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.